It's 1986. After releasing The Black Cauldron and a few other Disney IPs, Sierra Online's deal with the mouse has ended, and Ken Williams has to effectively lay off his employees. In actuality, they are rehired as contractors with a share in their future releases, allowing them to earn royalties on their products. One of these employees is Al Lowe, who in later interviews stated that this deal would earn him double the salary he had been making up to then, so he took it. And after he's laid off, he goes home and thinks on what he should work on next. Sierra Online had released a text adventure called Soft Porn Adventure by Chuck Benton in 1981. The game is a comedy, adult-themed text adventure, wherein the main character needs to find items that will aid him in courting 3 women. It had sold an estimated 50,000 copies for the Apple II in a matter of months. Al Lowe decides to pitch a reimagining of sorts to Ken Williams in the guise of Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards, creating a different main character, expanding the game, and basically riffing off Soft Porn Adventure. It wasn't going to be a remake in the strictest sense of the word, but the puzzles and overall premise was indeed going to be remade into the Larry game. So Ken gives his go-ahead, and Al Lowe goes home and starts working on Leisure Suit Larry, a 40-year-old balding virgin who decides he's had enough and takes a trip down to Lost Wages, a miniature of Las Vegas, to try his luck with the ladies. The game is programmed using Sierra's AGI engine and releases in 1987 for MS-DOS and the Apple II with little to no advertising. The game sells only around 4,000 copies initially, and many stores are refusing to sell the game due to its adult theme. But before the year's out, the game is a sleeper hit. It's such a hit that it's pirated many times over and distributed worldwide, and Sierra only knows this because they've been selling more hint guides than actual copies of the game. The game sells over 300,000 copies and is later remade in 1981 using Sierra's SCI engine with VGA graphics, a point-and-click interface, higher fidelity animation than the 1987 version, and sound card audio instead of beeps and boops. The graphics are similar to 1991's Leisure Suit Larry 5, as is the interface, since both games were made with the SCI engine. Although this is the more user-friendly version of the two, there's something charming about the 1987 version that I find myself going back to. Sure, the 1991 version is the more user-friendly version out of the two, as we said, as well as easier to look at and navigate, but the 1987 version's crude graphics and archaic interface feels somewhat warmer. Maybe it's because I vividly remember going to a neighbor kid's house with a bunch of other kids from the neighborhood to play this on a monochromatic black and green monitor way back in the day. We didn't manage to get very far, of course. In fact, I doubt we ever managed to left this area. In 2013, yet another remake of the first game is released, entitled Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded by Replay Games, after being crowdfunded through Kickstarter. This version features upgraded graphics, full voice acting, extra puzzles, and an extra lady for Larry to pursue. It effectively improves upon the original Larry game in every way, the same way Larry did with Soft Porn Adventure. Well, in every way except the shallowness of the main theme. That stays the same. Being the most modern version of Leisure Suit Larry, I believe it's the definitive way to play the game. It's much easier on the eyes, much easier to navigate, and the voice acting adds a lot in fleshing out the miniature Las Vegas-inspired Lost Wages. And so, with 3 remakes under its belt, Soft Porn Adventure, a game from 1981, still lives on. But this is about Larry. You can call it crass, shallow, or even cringy. But there's a naivete that's always been charming, at least to me and a few of my friends anyway. I didn't make a song about Larry in this week's topic, but I did make a cringy review about it, and here it is.
Classy. You must be tired. You've been running through my mind all day.
A few days ago, I had just come home from my local arcade where I was checking out the new Double Dragon game, and guess what I found in the mail? A copy of Sierra Online's latest game, Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards. Boy, that's a mouthful, huh? This is from the same company that released the King's Quest games. From the box art, I assume this is a comedic game like Space Quest The Syrian Encounter a few months prior. And this one, instead of an intergalactic janitor like in Space Quest, you play as Larry, a 40-year-old balding virgin. Along with his outdated leisure suit, he's also wearing a few gold chains and reeks of desperation. The game comes in 2 360KB discs and requires 540 kilobytes of hard disk space, so not exactly lightweight. You will also need 256K of RAM to play this behemoth. And one can see why, since the game features extremely realistic images of pretty women in sexy poses. As Larry, you're dropped in Lost Wages, a miniature version of Las Vegas, I would assume, in front of a bar called Lefties. Your goal? To lose your virginity, of course. Obviously, this game is not highbrow, but the humor usually lands, although some of the jokes may become out of date in the near future. Before the game starts, you're asked a number of questions which may or may not deter youngsters from trying out the game. Although this game is devoid of nudity, its subject matter is quite raunchy. Your character is also able to drink alcohol, gamble, dance with sexy ladies, put on a condom, and also have sex. Leisure Suit Larry is a harmless, funny game for adults, and although the game's protagonist may come off as a huge jerk, the developers are making fun of this sad affair of a man. You'll have to navigate through a silly world where the most absurd character is the protagonist. Some of the jokes are quite risque, and with around 900 words you can use in the text parser, you can make it even naughtier. The three-dimensional graphics are also something to behold. You can move the fully animated Larry in the foreground as well as in the background, enter buildings, jump from windows, and even dance on the disco floor. What is somewhat annoying, however, is the fact that the game forces you to move around all the different areas of the game by hailing a taxi, which costs in-game money, and as such, you can run out of it and lock yourself out of completing the game. You will definitely need to gamble at the casino, and the easiest way I found that can make money is by saving right after winning a hand and loading right after losing one. It's not the best way to play a game, but it's a necessary evil. As is usual with Sierra Online games, there are also many deaths that can be triggered if you take a wrong step. These are usually quite entertaining, but make sure you save often. The game gives you 7 real-time hours in which Larry can lose his virginity, and if you fail to help him do so, you get a very bleak ending. But experienced players shouldn't have a problem with this. Just don't forget to use protection. Overall, this is quite a humorous game, with some clever but also downright idiotic dialogue, given its subject matter and jerk of a protagonist. I'd say it's even funnier than Space Quest Chapter 1 The Syrian Encounter. It's got some good puzzles, the animation and graphics are excellent, and the writing is quite good. The theme tune is also very catchy, and I found myself singing it many times throughout these past few days between playing the game and making this review. There have been some exceptional arcade cabinet games and also some great games for the Famicom already this year, and even though 1987 isn't even done yet, I'd call Leisure Suit Larry Game of the Year for the home computer. Definitely a game to look out for.